At 8:02, we have 5 members present, so we have a quorum. We don't have any minutes to review from our last meeting, so we'll skip that. Our main purpose of meeting tonight is to review and hopefully award the 2-year contract for the grounds of the recreational facilities in town. Has everybody had a chance to look them over? And I know they said there's some questions. I don't know how you want to go about this, if we want to just make a motion to start or have some discussion to start.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about any of them?
Yeah, so we can just do discussion right now.
Well, it's no question that Summerscape was the cheapest. They were the cheapest by far.
Yep. And we all agreed that they were the only ones that said this bid is based on the bid specifications that we outlined
On the website.
on the
Yeah.
website, yeah.
But again, I think
Which
that
is the
goes,
exact,
I think that goes without saying on.
well,
on the bids.
I guess it does, but I mean, they said that, but no, we had addressed removal of the clippings, and that was a couple of the questions we had, that one just said, what, blowing off?
One doesn't.
One mentioned blowing off.
Mulches, well, they mulch the grass instead of bagging it, so
Right.
removal wasn't an issue with that, but there was one about blowing it off, and it was that just the infields, or did it include something else?
To me, the biggest drawback of Summerscape is gonna be the fact that they're not local at all. They're from Farmington.
Farmington, yeah.
And I can't remember, Steve, did you say that the proposal stated that they needed to do the work themselves? Or
It did not.
It did not
It
say
did
it?
not.
Okay.
So they could be some
It
contract
could
in
be
this house.
outsourced, yeah, like it was this past time.
Right.
What do you mean, this last past time? Rainmaker,
Rainmaker outsourced their,
They subbed it out,
they subbed it out, yeah.
which we had discussed putting that in the RFP, that it couldn't be subbed out. If we were gonna sub it out, we would do that, not them. You know what I mean? We were essentially doing that anyway, so.
right.
We didn't, but I don't think we ever made that change. The Summerscape, the other,
But now, so if, I mean, I'm sorry, but, so if somebody subs it out, though, they need to provide us their violation of the contract if they don't give us their insurance, right? If they sub it out,
well, I don't
We didn't put anything in any,
No, but I
know
mean-
how that works, because we hired Rainmaker. So
yeah, I would think it falls under their insurance.
if they hire a group,
no. Any
No.
subcontractor needs to have their own, if they're getting paid,
but we paid Rainmaker.
right, but if they're getting paid to work on our property, they need to have, insurance, and they need to show that they have workman's comp, the whole bit.
Through the contract.
Yeah,
What's
not
that?
Through the town. It's a requirement of the contract to have the insurance. If they elect to subcontract to like an electrician or plumber, it's that contractor's responsibility to make sure they cover the insurance.
That's what I thought.
Right,
meaning,
but-
So in that case, Rainmaker would have been responsible for those.
Right.
Correct.
meaning if we hire Rainmaker, we don't know who they're having do the work. If it's the owner of the business, an employee of his, or if they're hiring another person, bringing them in. But we're under contract with them to get the work done and to make sure that they have insurance. And we check their insurance. So
Right.
anything outside of that, I believe, would fall under their responsibility.
But if
rather-
somebody, if a worker from a subcontractor gets injured on our property, they're not covered by their insurance because they're working for a different company. So they could basically sue us and sue them.
No.
Yes,
Their insurance, you hired them to be you hired your general contractor. They're supposed to be going through them. You have to ensure that that contractor has the insurance for him. Okay?
The general contractor or the sub?
The general contractor makes sure that it complies with what you guys said. Okay? You've got to have insurance.
And they all do.
Submits it to him, and he submits a copy back to us, that's all it is. Okay? We just need to have to make sure everybody's insured.
Right, so any subcontractors need to have a certificate of insurance.
That they provide to this company, not
Right,
to
but
us.
But we want a copy of it, so we know.
CCS, that's all.
Okay,
Okay.
Just a
does that,
formality, CCS.
okay, because we didn't do that with Rainmaker, and they had subs. working.
Legally, we're fine still.
So, going back to Summerscape, one of the, in looking at their list, they have a pretty extensive list of properties that they service. And it looks like it's mostly landscaping. You know, it's apartment buildings, apartment complexes, maybe townhomes and other communities, but there's a couple of schools on there, which may be athletic fields, but I'm not sure. So I don't know what, as far as athletic fields, if they have, you know, how much or any experience with that aspect of it.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, you're talking something different when you're talking the size of the equipment and you're talking cutting, you know, if you're using some of these smaller machines and you're trying to cut sawmill.
Well, and I think, yeah, and it's a little bit specialized too, I think, in maintaining turf that's getting beat up
Yeah.
6 days a week. And keep, you know, and staying on top of that.
So if we put them in order of cost, Summerscape is obviously the lowest. Then we've got
A&A.
A&A at 39.1. Now, the thing that we didn't know about A&A is it just says the 39.1, we're assuming that that's for 2 years, per year.
Correct.
Yeah, it said, let's
Well, yeah,
see.
because it's got 55, 85, 71,
It says
times 7
seasonal.
monthly payments.
They put seasonal field maintenance, so it must be
Yeah.
right here.
All right, so we're at 39.1 there. 43.2.
Yeah, they
So
do-
then it would
they
be
do state that
Regis.
They maintain, at least the town of Ipswich's athletic fields. And he does include all the equipment that he has.
And A&A is located in Milford.
Landscaping?
Mm-hmm.
A&A Proscapes. So they do the town of Ipswich athletic fields. It says town of Tingsboro, but it's athletic fields.
Ipswich, where's Ipswich? Ipswich, Mass?
It's New Hampshire. Is that towards the coast?
No, this
No.
was the,
New Ipswich.
western part of the state.
Oh, it's west.
Range,
Yeah,
Okay.
New Ipswich, New Hampshire.
the geography, you might supposed to be from Massachusetts.
They're about, Ipswich is about as far from Milford as we are from Milford.
Oh, on the other side?
Halfway between. I can tell you it's 25 miles from here exactly, in the oval. Don't go through that. You said A&M?
A-N-A,
A&A.
no, A-N-A, Proscapes.
Do you want a copy of their proposal? Actually, you can have.
They do an irrigation falling apart.
Now, I have a quick question. I don't know how this works, but this is a 2-year contract. Let's say that halfway through the first year, we find out that they're not doing what they're supposed to or what they're obligated to do. Can they be fired?
Yes.
Yeah.
They can, okay.
We have,
But-
one, if it's a violation of the contract,
Mhm.
that's pretty clear, but I think we put the language in there specifically that we reserve the right to terminate the contract if, for any
Okay.
reason we see fit, or something,
Okay.
something to that effect, so.
Good.
um,
And I'm only saying that just because you stated that there was no, you didn't see any fields on their reference list, you know, and I don't have an objection to them, to us being there first, you know, if they're given a chance, but I just wanted to see if, you know, we find out that they can't handle it.
Right.
Then if we can do something
In
about
the,
it.
in the current contract that we're under, with the company we've had for the last 2 years, we had also had the infield maintenance included as kind of a separate contract. It was 2 separate bids. after the first year, we terminated that portion of the contract with them just because we don't think, it wasn't going the way we thought, and I think there was a little miscommunication on what was expected, and
Oh, okay.
and we found another way to take care of it. So we just stopped that portion of it.
Oh, okay. As long as it's, I know it's allowed, that's good. Oh, did you want to see Summerscapes too? Evan? Want to see Summerscapes too?
I just got my question.
Yeah, so I got a Summerscape and a
Regis.
Regis, then Jones, then TLC.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the next would be Regis.
Mm-hmm. And they're local, which is a bonus.
Hudson. They didn't, was it 2 pages, their bid?
Just, yeah, but the second page just
Yeah,
said
it
thank you.
There wasn't much there, so.
The only thing is, again, they don't give, I mean, it sounds like they're a residential and commercial and municipal lawn mowing. I assume they can do more, but I don't know how many fields they've done.
Yeah, there wasn't that much information to go on in that bid. I mean,
I mean, I guess my big question is, what did we budget for this, and what have we been paying?
I believe it got dropped to what, 42 or 43?
The line used to be 45, and it was budgeted at 43. Because that's been the spend rate over the last 2 years. So I have no idea what the last contract was.
The last contract was less than that, but we
the
wound up
spend
paying
rate was
more.
about 43.
Right, but remember, we got a couple of bills for excessive usage.
Did we make any progress on separating money for irrigation repairs, do you know?
It's gonna be too difficult to do that.
Okay,
That's, the problem is how to justify it.
well, we have building maintenance set us. funds
Exactly, and
set
that's the
aside.
line that we'd end up having to go out of if we have to do
And if
anything.
it's unexpected, it's unexpected, and we,
Exactly.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter when it comes
well,
down
I
to
think
it.
they wanted us to do that, right? Didn't they?
Well, it was asked, but I don't know that we're gonna have an option out of it anyway.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
So we're at that current line is.
43,
stands at
but they're waiting
43,
to see
but
which
we can-
contract we
We can move
approve.
that if we need to, based
Because-
on contract.
Yeah, if we pick a contract that's below that, I guarantee you they'll go right down to that number.
Yeah.
So,
Regardless of the maintenance that we have to, that will incur over the course of the year.
I think the big thing we need to consider that I think we sort of got burnt with our last contract is if we look at bottom line, sometimes it winds up costing us more.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
I think
Agree.
that it's gonna take a little extra over the next 2 years to get the fields back up to where they used to be, or where they should be, because Sawmill was progressing a little bit, and
I haven't seen it recently, so I don't even know.
there's just a lot of crabgrass, a lot of bare spots. So, Dara seems to be okay, but it's got more spots on it than I've seen in the past.
Actually, the bad area at Dara now is the area in the right field of the first softball field. And I think in talking to the landscapers about that, it was where we plowed it for Winterfest and had ice, ended up with ice over it, and it was winter kill. And in the middle of the summer, it was all crabgrass, and it came back green. It
Yeah.
was all crabgrass. Now that the crabgrass died off, there's brown there again. So it's gonna take time for that to come back. But there was some other areas that, weren't, that probably should have been tended to more with overseeding or
I
something.
mean, this is I don't do anything on my grass. I mean, literally, I don't water it, I don't fertilize it, and it stayed green all year. This was like an easy year for lawns.
Not there.
But I mean, we didn't have a ton, it wasn't like that heat that we had the summer before that.
We never got the rain. Remember, we had low rain this summer.
Right, but I mean, if your lawn's irrigated, and these places, and our fields are
The
irrigated,
areas I'll be personally, my personal preference of the field at Dara, don't plow it again. It's not an ice skating rink, it's a
Right.
ball field. That created the problems in the areas that you had.
Well,
Okay?
that was plowed for,
winter.
I
for the
understand.
tents and all that for Winterfest, but,
understand.
yeah. But it
One
ended up
step.
being ice.
Right. That created a lot of the spots that we have. And the irrigation system is the issue there. It may work, but it's blood red. We're gonna have trouble with that well. That's why I'm here tonight. Just wanna let you know that pumping well has been a problem this year. It overheats, okay, because the veins are being plugged up inside the point. Gotta pull the point up, clean it, put it back down and down again. Or move the well 6 feet or 10 feet to the side, put another point in. It's 24 feet deep, that's all it is. It's a point well.
Did they say how much it would cost to move the
I
point?
haven't estimated that. I talked to Washwell, who does the maintenance on it for you, and that's been the problem there. We're sucking in that so much, we're pumping red, and the water's red. I got proof of that. Okay, so you're gonna have a problem. Or we go back to the old way,
Pond.
pond water, to get us through until we budget, do it right. The other thing too, how much are we running out of there? There's a separate issue on that. Okay, so I wanna be, we put a rain gauge out there to control the water flow. We don't pump during rainy days, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think that system has a
No, they don't.
rain sensor, does
They
it?
don't have a rain
No.
sensor.
Sawmill does.
Sawmill does, correct. So we may have to look into that, okay? So these are things that's not in the budget per se, but we may run across. This year, twice I've been out there, it was a pump. Keith had the pump that failed, basic jet pump, and all the controls. Went out there again, it was running, and it was, all the pipes were hot. It was a relay problem. It was because it was the screen was starting to plug too, we weren't getting a flow. When we went to back flush it, it didn't back flush right, like it was like, there was a check valve only at the pump, and it wasn't working, so we gotta change that out again, cause we're losing pressure. Either because of the iron. I had a good education on that, much as I didn't want it to, I did.
I guess a thought with these, and I'm assuming that all of the landscape companies would, but they would all, I'm assuming, service the irrigation system?
Yeah, and it's pretty basic.
Well, that's what I'm asking
I would
about
hope.
this. That's why-
Not the well, but the irrigation
No,
system.
right,
Yeah,
right, not the
yeah.
pump itself, but the,
Well, that's,
I mean, more than
That goes
changing
back
heads,
to
I guess I'm talking about.
Sumnerscapes mimicking what's on the website. A&A says that the irrigation will be maintained as described in the bid specs.
Okay,
And then I saw that on TLC as well. And they clearly stated that there would be an extra cost if they were doing anything else.
Right.
So, those are the only three that I noticed that had it clearly spelled out.
This one, Regis does state, four-step fertilization, lining, irrigation, aeration as specified.
I guess, you know, I know they're all capable and would probably, and would have no problem with, you know, changing heads
Bill
and
Jones
things like
says the
that. But
same
I guess
thing.
if there
Okay.
were more in-depth repairs that had to be done to the irrigation system, is it something we're gonna have to go out? I know TLC in the past have done that for us, and, a current company, which is also an irrigation company anyway, they, you know, they've been doing it, but I didn't know if we would have to look at saying, hey, if we had a major problem with that system, aside from the well pump itself, are we gonna have to go get somebody else, or any of these contractors able to do that?
I believe that even Rainmaker this year ended up calling in Washwell for the pump down there.
And TLC did in the past too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, I mean, for the pump, I understand that, but I just, you know, if there's a broken line,
Yeah,
that kind
regular
of stuff.
stuff,
and,
yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you wanna go with this? You wanna keep walking through them? You want a recommendation?
A, B, or C, D? Do that?
Well, I don't know if we wanna maybe maybe we can eliminate one or two if we feel, I mean, I don't know how you wanna do it, if everybody
Well-
feels comfortable with one.
I'll give you my opinion. Summerscape was by far the cheapest. I like their bid. I don't like how far away they are. That's the only thing I don't like about Summerscape. A&A Proscape is, to me, the next most reasonably priced. They clearly state what they're gonna do. The only question is the second year. I was leaning that way, based on cost, the references they supplied, and the capability to do the work. Otherwise, Regis can probably do it, but they're a larger company, so they should be able to handle it. They're just more money. Bill Jones, they make it sound like they can handle it. They're more money. And then TLC was significantly more money.
For me, the two, that you mentioned Summerscape being the cheapest, which makes them stand out, but we've leaned on that before, and that wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily the best choice. In the proximity thing, I know we make a lot of text messages and phone calls throughout the year saying, hey, there's a problem with this, or can you take care of this, or somebody mentioned this needs to be done. Trying to get those things done with, in a timely manner. I think having somebody fairly close by is helpful for that, but,
And that was helpful with Rainmaker. I'm gonna say that, okay? Because there was a guy in town working for Rainmaker. You know, it was helpful in a couple of cases.
which was, I think, a factor when we awarded that contract, is having someone local, but, when I kinda looked at it, these two here, I only know about them the information they've provided, which this one was pretty minimal, and this one didn't have not much either. ANA bid on the last one and came in to our meeting. We were able to
Yep,
talk to them.
he was here last time.
And I remember
Yep.
I was pretty impressed with what they were offering,
Yep,
and
agree.
they were very close to being awarded the contract the last time. And TLC, we worked with them for several years, and aside from the cost being the highest, the quality of work that they gave us was outstanding. It's just, are we willing to pay that much more to, to get what we were getting, rather than hoping that we get something equivalent out of a new contractor?
Agreed. I mean, TLC is a known commodity. I mean, we know what he can do. I agree.
I mean, my concern, and I know, your heart and soul went into Sawmill, my heart and soul went into that field expansion at Dara. And I know we dropped 125,000 at Dara, and probably close to 300 at Sawmill. I don't wanna spend all that money and then have these fields look like crap and have the kid,
Well, do you think it's all on the lawn care, or is it just that we're not shuffling
it's-
things around, and, I mean,
I think the lawn care is part of it. If you're used to doing regular landscaping and you're not having 600 kids running on a field throughout the week and know, what type
so
of
you're referring
grass.
to, say, a Summerscape?
Right.
Okay. Now, the only thing I did notice with them is they did say, now I don't know what this means, but, he does state Prospect, Mountain High School. I don't know if that
There was
means
a couple
fields.
schools on there, I just didn't.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know what that, if it means fields or if it's just doing the grounds of the high school.
Right.
I don't know. But I hear what you're saying about, you want a specialist, you're looking for a specialist to maintain athletic fields.
Well, not just that, yeah, and,
From my perspective on that, in dealing with the last two contractors that we've had, is when TLC was doing it, when I would go over to Sawmill, or Dara, during the week, he'd be over there working. He'd be, either fertilizing or the normal routine stuff. He was doing, he aerated once or twice a year. He was lime, soil tests, and all. He was very attentive to it. part of that's he lives a
His
quarter mile
proximity,
away.
I know,
Yeah.
he's on
But,
talent. I just noticed that.
But he was, you know, very much on top of it, and it was never, usually if there was a problem there, he called us and told us about it, rather than us calling the contractor.
And that is a concern with someone so far out.
With the,
Both
under
of
the
these, I
current
mean-
contract, I feel like a lot of that stuff gets taken care of, but it ends up being, someone will mention it to me, or I'll pick something up, or somebody else will, and then I'll call and say,
Yeah.
hey, can you guys take care of this? And they're usually very good about that, but I don't think we were getting the same level of attention out of it that we were previously.
I would agree.
And we've never worked with any of these other 4 companies, at least I haven't, so I can't say that we will or we won't get that level of attention. But how much are we willing to pay for it?
So if that, I mean, I'm not sure if we're all gonna say something. If that's the case, then I don't even know where the Farmington is. Where is Farmington?
The mailing address actually came out of Alton.
Oh, okay.
Farmington's over next to Rochester, Maine border. A little farther away from New Ipswich.
I mean, do we just wanna start removing a bid and see what we're left with? If that's the case, I probably, even though they certainly have a lot of accounts, I would probably remove Summerscape just because of their location.
Quick response.
Yeah, I mean, the fact they have,
That's a factor, guys.
It is, I
Yeah.
agree.
Quick
and not only
response.
distance, but the fact that they, I mean, I don't wanna put down big companies, but you have a lot of customers. And where do we go in the pecking order as far as?
Yeah,
Not that we want to be able to call somebody and say, hey, we need you down here now and have them jump, but you've got the Litchfield Girls Tournament popping up, and all of a sudden you go out there and the sprinklers are going off in the middle of it, or
Happened this
it's,
year, right.
yeah.
I mean, there was several, probably at least once or twice a month, I was calling and saying, hey, this is happening, can you guys take care of this?
Yeah.
Or can you, you know, and they were very good about that, but it's nice to have someone that's able to do that, rather than saying, hey, you gotta drive 30 miles to get here.
Right.
Right, I
That's-
think, I don't, if you remember Corning, not as much this year, last year it was really bad. Literally would be calling saying, look, the kids are gonna get lost in the outfield, can you come down and cut the grass for us, please? Cause even this year, Brickyard,
Brickyard was wicked deep, I mean, thick.
you know, and the teams were extremely upset. I mean, basically they kicked the ball, I'd have to kick it full force to get it over to you. It would not roll, I couldn't kick it on the ground. It would have to get off the ground, it would never reach you.
Well, that was one of the main reasons in the bid spec that we
Yeah,
specified weekly mowings
yeah,
with the preferred dates of Thursdays and
Yeah, I think that,
Right.
and we made that change under the current contract, right? Because we were having that problem, and we had them, can you move it to Thursday or Friday mowing?
With the
Right.
preferred.
Because I think they were cutting the grass
There's no
on
guarantee, but.
Monday or Tuesday, and by the time the weekend came around in midsummer, you know, when
Right.
when the grass was growing.
The biggest issue you get is with the lawn mowing, is a lot of these companies will work on a 7 to 10 day rotation. Throw in a day of rain, you can
yeah,
all of a sudden be at 10 or 11.
Yeah.
So when that happens, that's when that grass just gets ridiculous. That's why especially in the playing season, it's gotta be done every week. I mean, I do my lawn every week at my house because it gets too long.
Yep.
It's just,
yeah, and if they're putting the fertilizer and irrigating it the way it is, it's gonna grow. I mean, and you want it to grow quick because you want to, what?
Why fertilize, just grows, you gotta cut it. I'm losing something here.
Because you want the good stuff to grow.
Okay.
The bad stuff will grow if you don't.
We used to play in the field, now I gotta play on turf.
Yeah. Yeah, why not just field turf? Can we just get field turf for every single field?
I'd love it.
Just-
because it would cost more to maintain.
Yeah,
So, I guess to narrow things down,
Yep.
my two would be A&A and TLC. Is anybody else in favor of keeping any of the others in the mix for the time being? Or at this point?
Well, I'm not, I mean, if we're going with just proximity, then I guess I'd have to go with A&A as well. Get them out. I'm voting Sumner out, definitely. I wish I knew more about A&A. They showed, like you said, they showed up 2 years ago and almost got the bid.
Now, was that
He's
the
got
two
one of
gentlemen?
best bid packs there.
He does.
Yes.
And the only reason why he didn't get it is because he quoted us like $10,000 for
The
infield maintenance.
the
And you're like,
infield
why is it $10,000?
He was
And he
probably
does.
actually gonna do it. That's
I
why.
agree, yeah, I agree. But I would agree with you. He's got what I think is probably the best bid he's put together. I'm not sold on Regis necessarily. There's no,
No references.
he has no
with Regis.
references, right.
Yeah.
I realize he's a Litchfield resident, but he just moved here. And Bill Jones, I don't know anything about either, and I don't think he offered us any references.
Who?
Bill Jones,
Oh,
Some?
yeah.
and I
No,
don't even know
and I
where
sort of got
he's,
scared by Bill Jones, I mean,
where's he out of?
the attachment to the
668
thing
is Manchester, right?
Manchester hooks it, yeah.
is not responsible to return to business
Yeah,
property
this
to
thing on the back, I
identify,
don't know,
evaluate,
force,
prevent hazards or dangerous conditions existing, you know what?
did you read that, force
Yeah.
majeure? Contractor shall not be liable to business owner for any damages to business property. Yeah.
In other words, if he hurts the fence or something, he's not being responsible.
Right.
We don't have
Is
his,
that force majeure? I thought force majeure was something that's out of your control.
I don't know what that is, I've never heard of that
It's out of
term.
our control, I guess.
Force majeure.
Um,
So, well, yeah, I'd probably move him as well to,
You're referring to as something happened.
Well, it's out of acts outside of his control,
Correct.
yes. So it's not, if they drive into a fence, they'd have to repair it.
If his subcontractor does something out of his control.
okay.
It is out of his control, really, because he's subcontracting that out.
That's
He
true.
should be responsible for it, but now he's saying who's gonna fight for it. High-low.
Hmm?
High-low.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that these two didn't even provide any references, and we know TLC.
My biggest thing, guys, is what I'd like to know is your irrigation at Dara is your issue. It's not like the well at Sawmill is a deep rock well. This is a shallow well, and that's why we're picking up the high iron content into it, manganese and stuff like that.
Is that why
Everything's red.
no, but what was it that had to be replaced 2 years ago? The fins?
Yeah,
Fins
burnt the
and pumps,
impeller.
everything else, yep, yep.
Yeah, so that probably was what causing that, right?
That's what- It's just, it's a simple pump.
And wrong with A&A is he didn't say 2 years, that's the
Okay,
only
it's
bummer.
one horse pump with two horse pump. They're not very hard, they're not very complex. It's just a check valve and a pump. Priming it was a problem as well, because it's leaking by so much on the check valve. So you got work to do on that already.
Right. And I just checked Better Business Bureau on those two, and no, there's nothing on either one, so no complaints or nothing.
Are they A
significant.
pluses?
I didn't, neither one of them came up with anything, so
They didn't come up?
I didn't get anything on them.
Oh, you didn't get anything on them?
That's weird.
Has anybody actually contacted their references that they gave us and found out how any of them are?
Nope. We had a couple of questions, but I don't know if John was able to get
Well,
in touch
A&A
with them.
didn't provide references, right?
A&A did,
Yeah,
yeah, referral
A&A
list.
did.
Where
It's
is
like
it?
5 of them, six of them on here.
I must not have that.
Atlantic Heights, Fairbury Point,
Regis
Town of
didn't.
Tingsboro, Merrimack
Okay, yeah.
Condo, and then he's the one you saw, the Ipswich Athletic Fields. New Ipswich.
Just your idea, I just left a message with him on this contract question you had, whether it's 2 years or 1 year. Okay?
And so are we all agreeing on, so I don't know if we need to do these as individual, we're not making a motion right now, right? We're just sort of organizing thoughts.
I would be in complete agreement that it's between A&A and TLC. I really wish there wasn't this much difference in price.
Yeah,
And we really need,
which I think is exactly what we came down to last
Right.
time, is that we had it narrowed down and it was a significant difference in price.
anyone want to text, is John just driving? I don't want to ping him if he's driving, but his question to A&A was this a 2-year?
Well, I think it would have to,
we
well,
wanted him to confirm that the price wasn't gonna change, right?
Right.
The way it reads sounds
it
like
says,
this.
it says it's a seasonal maintenance
Okay,
price,
so we believe it's.
I think whether that was their intention or not, I think it would have to, they'd have to be locked in.
Okay.
Actually, at this point, we should contact all of them and say, is the bid gonna go down because the price of gas is $1 cheaper than it was when we listed it out?
No kidding. No kidding. We don't know what the spring holds, so.
What's that?
That's what the budget committee is asking too.
Yeah, just say, that's 2014, wait till January, see if the prices are still where they are.
Just like the price of bunker oil, okay?
All right, I'm gonna try to help things move along here. And I'm gonna make a motion that we grant the contract to A&A Proscapes LLC. Contingent upon the fact that the 39-1 is the same price for the second year as well.
I'll second it, but I wanna ask something.
So, seconded to,
So, we have a motion and a second, so we'll have discussion.
Are we concerned about Milford, that being a distance? I mean,
Distance on
Milford's not close. What is that?
there's
40
no
minutes?
direct, right.
Half hour ride,
Is that it?
half hour to 40 minutes.
Never seems to take me half hour to get to Milford.
Where do you go?
Well, it also depends if
it's
you're
always
pulling a
forever.
trailer.
Time of day too.
Yeah, I know. It takes a long
Mornings are
time.
different, in the daytime is different. I
I'm-
can verify that.
I'm all for
I-
A&A, I'm just concerned about,
So,
once again, we were talking, if we need someone here, and they did say they have 7 to 10 faithful seasonal employees, but,
normally, I would say that the difference in cost, even though I'm not saying it's insignificant, but I would favor a known product that we liked, that we've been happy with in the past, even with the difference in cost. However, the fact that our budget line has gone down, which I know we can adjust, but now we don't have, in the past, we've always had reserve money. That line has always been above our contracted price. So I'm concerned that if we say we're gonna ask the budget committee to move that line to, what is, for the first year, 45,000 on this, and they say, okay, we're gonna do that, that will be all we have. And then, now we're backing ourselves into a corner on our budget, because we always end up having extra costs. And if we're not separating out the irrigation costs, where does that money come from? At the same, I guess, kind of along the same line of thought, is if we're expecting that if we say, hey, this one's coming in at 39.1, are they gonna say, okay,
my
then that's your
concern.
line?
Yeah.
So we're gonna
And you
end up in
said-
the same situation. Are we gonna be able to pad that with an unexpected cost amount?
I have a plan to make a motion after we handle this.
okay.
Okay.
And my concern is we went, I think it was 36, was it, that, our last contract?
That sounds right. That does sound
Okay,
right.
and we've been spending 43, because we're consistently getting bills for, oh, I still can't get it out of my head, that excessive use. You know, oh, it's excessive use, we have to do this, we have to do that. And I know the headaches that we did not have with TLC for the 8 years that I was on here with, when he was doing it, and it was, we didn't get the extra bills. Unless it was seriously,
Significant.
you know what?
Right.
Somebody drove a car and tore up the field. I think even then, I don't know if we got it, but,
I would agree, and if there was if there was a league that was having a tournament that weekend, he made an extra trip over late in the week to make sure everything was set. You know, and an extra cutting or making sure that everything was cleaned up and trimmed and all. He was very good about accommodating everybody, trying to make sure we were satisfied with what we were getting, rather than just meeting the terms of the contract. But,
so I just think it's,
The terms of the contract are supposed to be the guidelines that you need met.
yes.
Anything extra should be looked at as extra. If it gets mowed every week on Thursday or Friday, that would meet the needs of any tournament that would come through on a weekend.
but as far as the area by the goals, the outfield spots where they're standing.
We actually have more blame to put on ourselves for not forcing their hand to do it, the last contractor.
Right,
Then
but,
we can blame them because they can just claim ignorance, you know what I mean? And especially when you contract with one company that then subcontracts to another.
There is
that's the other
some,
issue
there is
that
some
came up.
language in the contract that's subjective, like, maintain the fields in optimal playing condition. I think is what the contract says. Well, what does that mean? And that could be different,
Opinion.
right. So, if we're getting spots in front of a soccer goal that are getting beat down and turning to mud, well, some contractors might be okay with that and think that that's normal wear and tear, and that's the way it's gonna be.
But in our contract, it actually states that the goal areas need to be taken care of and things like that, the wear spots. It says it, they just didn't do it. And we didn't force them to do it, because every time we asked them, they said it was the wrong season to do it. Right?
Yeah, and that is a problem for us, is that once things start getting away from us, getting it back is very difficult. Because we're using the fields all the time. So, there is no optimal time to go out and say, hey, we're gonna oversee these fields, we're gonna put down sod, or we're gonna do this, because they're getting used all the time. So, you can do it, you're just not, it's not gonna, if you're gonna get normally a 70% germination, you might get 40% germination if you're overseeding or something like that, because it's still getting used. We don't have the option of saying we're closing this field for a month for overseeding while we use these fields.
We actually do down at Sawmill. We actually
I think
have the feasibility to be able to do that, we
Right.
just,
I
we
think we
just
tried
didn't
that.
do it.
We
Well,
were
even-
really having
but I mean,
trouble
Mike-
getting scheduling.
Yeah, the lawnmower guys were the ones that were taking all the stakes down.
Oh,
Because they
taped
said it
off.
was inconvenient to mow around, so they took them down. So they were our worst enemy right from the start to the end.
The subcontractor.
yeah, because he doesn't care. And because it's not his part, right?
Subcontractor. we get
Takes
it.
a longer time and, yeah, because I know Mike Bosky had even mentioned, he said, look, we'll not use these certain areas in the fall because, it was October and it was reaching the point where you can't plant after that. And it wasn't done.
Can I just interject an opinion? TLC put his heart and soul, and I will admit to that. He went out and beyond, and it's because he did it. He wanted that to be his showcase. He did a good job. He's actually a groundskeeper. There's a difference between a lawnmower and what he did. He was actually acting as a groundskeeper. He's put more into it. Okay, just like you said, he went out and did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Wasn't part, but he acted also as a manager for the fields. There's a question that I gotta ask the board, the group, who's their manager?
Who's
watching the
manager?
fields? Okay, besides your contract with them to mow it and do it. Who's gonna be you guys oversee it, I don't want it. You guys oversee it, okay? DLC was your manager in the way he operated. I'll say that, okay?
I would agree with that. It was very hands-off for us.
Okay? He kept you guys off the pit. He was well worth the money for that situation. Budget committee thinks differently, okay? They want you to be the managers. Okay, they want to get the lowest price. But there's a value to somebody of that nature. And then on the other hand, we haven't tried out the second guy yet. And what he is gonna do, okay, in relation to it, okay? We're gonna bring him in, we're gonna award the contract, but he's gonna be like a manager as well. He needs to report back to somebody on conditions of the field once a week to tell you what's going on, as well as you going down and look too, to see if they correspond. This time, all I know is you hired lawnmowers last time, and mowed and swept and dumped the grass. Have they actually watched the field? I can't answer that. I don't know how you guys felt about that. okay? I know Keith's been out there a lot on the new field, but the older ones, he watches it. Just a little something, the value regarding that helps you out.
I think amongst this commission, all the fields are actually covered by site because we're all at different fields. I mean, I never go to Dara, but I'm always at the baseball fields. And
Well, and we lean on the leagues. I mean,
I'm always over at Sawmill. So, I mean, I'm always at those.
Right. And I mean, Keith
I know-
Kukowski, and, you know, he does a good job of saying, letting us know what's going on at that field.
and Mike Bosky.
Mike
Oh, yeah,
Bosky.
the leagues, yeah, the leagues seem to
Um,
do
So
this.
you guys understand the process, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
You got people watching, and that's what you need. Steve is good, he's found some pretty uncomfortable signs, but he keeps an eye on things down in Sawmill for me. Thank you. I just wanna say it in the way that
Yeah,
I see it, and what has happened in the past.
yeah, because I mean, if you look, and I'm just trying to look at how they all titled it. But it just sort of grabs me that, bid for mowing and field maintenance services is great. This one says field mowing bid and maintenance proposal, and,
Right.
And
And this
the
one's
only-
athletic
Keith,
field
you-
maintenance, right?
yeah.
Keith, you mentioned, I know you said that he's probably locked in, but he does state that, this is A&A, he does state rec field mowing bid 2015/16, or -16, so
True.
is
Yeah.
that just 1 year?
Well,
Yeah,
my
and then it-
motion
and then
also
below that it
stipulates
says it's
that
seasonal.
It has to be two.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and then it does say that's a seasonal price.
Okay.
Which would. tell
Right, I
me
just don't want it all of a sudden, so as long as he's locked in at 39.1 for 2 years, okay.
You said 15 and 16, it's two.
Well, I think until, I guess I would be figuring until 2017, because he's not starting until he's not starting until 2015.
2017 will be another contract,
Okay.
okay? Because you're only going to 15.
And this is the company, it was they had the $10,000 infield.
Did you notice on the
maintenance.
bottom, he says
Yeah.
infield maintenance,
Yeah.
priced on request this time?
So,
As opposed to doing
so our
10,000.
difference right now that we're looking, for 2015 is.
$5,900.
$5,900.
Almost $6,000. And then so it's almost 6,500 the following year. I'm sorry, 75, yeah, 7,400.
I think the cost is too far. I made the motion for A&A. I recommend A&A. I say we stay right on top of them, and if they're not satisfactory in the first year, we just can them and do the process again.
I think Kevin brought up a good point, though, about that, is that as a volunteer commission who's understaffed with volunteers, we can't even fill all those seats. It's very difficult for us to stay on top of things. Yeah, we can get reports from the leagues or, people, you know, or our own, if we see problems at the parks, and we can pass that along to a text message or an email. But then trying to, and follow up and make sure that gets done, or gets done the way you were expected. I think it's one of the things that we have to rely on, because we don't have our own maintenance people. We don't have a recreation director, someone that's here every day to look at this. When we hire a contractor, we have to rely on them to do to basically, like Kevin said, manage it. They have to, you know, and that's part of being a group of volunteers, that we just can't do that. We're on a day-to-day basis.
My real issue with TLC is we got 5 bids in. They are the highest.
I wish it wasn't so high, I agree.
True.
They're not even in the middle, they're not even on the high end, they are the highest. That's the biggest issue that I have. It's not like it's 1 or 2 bids.
I don't know, you can always do what I always do to my kids and my employees, is that the first couple of weeks, you just keep on top of them. And you make sure that they understand that you're not gonna let them get away with anything. And, you know, I mean, if you guys are there all the time, You know, you should notice after
We're not, there- I
the
mean, we're
weekend.
there, but it's not,
Well, if they're mowing once a week and you guys are playing a couple days later, you'll know if it's not mowed around the goal post or whatever. And then you can call them right away and say, listen, this
Yeah, but
is not
it's
acceptable.
not as much the cutting, because that stuff you can see and it's pretty easy to maintain.
Right.
But, like talking to, and I don't want to keep bashing our I mean, and I don't know if this is true or not, but, the soccer league strongly feels that the reason that there's so much water on Sawmill is it's not being properly aerated. And, you know, we're not gonna sit out there and go, oh, you know, how many plugs per square foot are you doing? When you're doing it, are you
Well, we
aerating
could
it
call them and
properly?
ask them that.
Right, but I mean, we're not expert, we don't know.
Right.
You know,
I never saw that field aerated.
right, I don't think it was. But how, you know, unless we're down there saying, when do you aerate, you know, and that, talk about micromanaging. Yeah, I can tell you if the grass isn't cut. I can tell you if the sprinklers aren't coming on, but has it been aerated? Has the soil been tested? Are they putting the right fertilizer down? Are they putting the right lime down? We've got over $1 million worth of fields out there, and I want to make sure that we're not gonna, they're already going to crap. And
Well, it sounds right there that it's worth $5,900 for you not to have to worry about it.
Crap.
they're going to crap,
They're not going to crap.
yes. Like,
If you wanted TLC, you should have just called them up and not even done a bid. Because that's the way it looks when you take the highest bidder and discard the rest.
Okay,
That's the way it looks.
You can always call him and ask him if he could,
You
No.
can't because
You
you
can't.
solicited
You can't.
bids.
You can't.
no, I don't
That's
think.
it, they're in.
Yeah,
I'm stuck on it. I just think it's worth it. I think that we got burnt the last time. We went with the low bid. It was $7,000 less, but we wound up spending about $2,000 less, if that, because we kept getting supplemental bills for things that we really shouldn't have. And things that we wouldn't with TLC. So I think that would be in penny wise, pound foolish.
$43,000 line included your irrigation problems.
I'm sorry?
The $43,000 line included your irrigation problems. For this year.
Did those pump repairs, does that come out of that line?
All of it came out of the field maintenance. Okay, I did not put it in the building.
And how much was that? How much was the pump?
We estimated approximately $4,300 was spent on a miscellaneous of pump controls. We had brickyard, we had there 2 or 3 times on controls, pump, vanes, there's a $1,000 bill. Service calls, it's about $200 to $300, bring the guys back and forth. Okay, we estimated out, I think I gave it to Jason, about 43, I figured, all the little miscellaneous things for this year. And it's just basically field equipment, pump, irrigation, that kind of stuff. Okay?
I'm not committed either way at this point, but, and I guess we have to also think about that with A&A, we don't know that we're not gonna get the same level of service.
Oh, I know. No, it's-
That we
I'm not saying-
used to
and it-
get from TLC,
Right.
or possibly better. We can't say that, but,
Question, do you need, Steve has made a motion for any, I have no problem with that decision for you guys, okay? I don't.
A&A.
Okay, I don't have a problem. I think you're recommending them right now. You haven't signed a deal yet. You can still meet with that outfit, ask questions.
we need to get
We
this.
need to have a
we need to
decision
get
for
it
the
into
budget, right?
budget
Yeah, we
committee,
do.
right?
We need a number.
Okay, so you need to give them a number then.
Well,
It's not too many years of planning, we can figure it out.
I'm with, as much as, I mean, I like the fact that he's local. We know he's a proven, he's done a good job. But I'm with Steve. I just, we're talking $6,000 difference. Now, I know you said you were gonna make a motion, you're gonna make a motion after we either decide on one or the other? You're gonna make a motion, another motion? Okay. Because that's my concern, what Keith mentioned. I'm concerned that if we go with 39, I don't want the budget committee to lock us into 39 and not have any leeway to
being that we spent
improve
42 or 43.
this past year.
Well, yeah, I think probably if you go back for the last 4 or 5 years, we probably spent close to that. I mean, if you have to factor in the new fields, but, I think that's pretty standard for us on a yearly
That's
basis.
why she was lower.
The
I don't know why
wrangling
he's
situation
high.
that Steve is referencing, right?
But he was high last time, that's why he had, with the other one.
It was a bigger difference last time, but yes, it was the highest.
I don't think, actually, he wasn't the highest out of the bids last time. But he
Yeah.
I
was,
think there was something
There
like
was-
48 or something.
no, there was somebody that was like astronomically
Really?
out of
Yeah, I
there.
wanna say it was like 48, that was like ridiculous.
Yeah, there was, I think there was a 48.
I mean, stop and think how, if you actually wanted to consider Sumner, they're what, 33? So now stop and say, who's really out of whack? They're 33.9. So the lowest is 33.9, the highest is 45 the
45
first year,
even.
46.5 the second year.
Right.
That's significant.
And
It's almost
really with Sumner, the only big
difference.
issue we had was their proximity.
Exactly.
Well, and the fact that we
But I
didn't
like-
see any,
Yeah, we don't know
Field
if they've
maintenance.
got the
we didn't see any field maintenance
expertise
on
to do
Sumner.
it.
Right.
At least A&A, they list New Ipswich athletic fields. So we know that they do
Mhm.
athletic fields. I don't know how big they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
They're bigger than us.
Are they?
Tingsboro's a bigger outfit.
Certainly got a heck of a lot of equipment.
Do we have any more discussion, or do we vote?
It was nice having, even, we may not have been totally pleased with Rainmaker. It was nice having someone from Rainmaker in town. Same thing with TLC. It is nice having that ability to pick up the phone and call someone local. That's my only drawback with A&A, is that they're,
They probably,
40
they
minutes away.
may have somebody on the payroll that lives there.
they could,
That's how it worked already.
they could, yeah, if they were aware of the of this bid.
All I'm saying, guys, I think PLC proves this point. We've had trouble with one. I think your repairs are gonna be your downfall on old stuff. It's still gonna be out there no matter what. Okay? Your brickyard well is not a problem, it's just small stuff. When you lose a pump there, talking $1,500 at this deep rock well. Okay? So, these are all the surprise expenditures that the Board of Selectmen can handle. I would assume. They seem to be doing well with the police and fire, with unexpected stuff, and highway. Your numbers are minimal. Okay? They're well managed. The budget is well managed here. Will be good.
all right, any further discussion?
I guess, while we don't always look for that lowest, we're not required to go with the lowest bid, obviously.
Right.
And in this case, when we have it narrowed down to the two, looking at the lowest bid, we don't know that we're giving up anything to get that, right? If A&A were to get the contract, we don't know that we're sacrificing anything to get the lower bid of the
Correct.
two. We could end up with something we're very happy with. So, it's the unknown, I guess, but it's, you know what I mean, it's not like one's offering us something up front, offering us something more than the other. Now, in the long run, we may see that. I think that happened on the last contract, where we saw there was a difference in what we were getting, in the product that we were getting, the service we were getting. But in this case, we don't know for sure that we are. So. Anything else?
Any further discussion? Okay, so we have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. So the ayes have it, 4-1-0. So, you have another motion you wanted to make?
Yes.
There was a contingency on that too, right? You
The
said,
the contingency was to make certain that it was the same price for the second year as well, and that it was a 2-year contract.
Okay.
Now, what I would like to do is make a motion that this board forwards to the Budget Committee a recommendation to add $1,900 to the field maintenance line for miscellaneous repairs to irrigation.
What was the
I would
number?
like to, well,
1,900.
Second.
Okay, so we have discussion, what, would that 19, you talking just of what we know that needs to be done?
yeah,
Or,
I'd like to raise that immediately.
I was
to
gonna
go to
say, it's gonna be a lot,
4,300.
if what Kevin was telling us is gonna have to happen, it's gonna be more than 1,900.
Right.
Wouldn't that have to be a warrant
That's why I'm
article to
wondering
deal
where that
with?
number came from.
Yeah, why
I was waiting for
19?
discussion for
It's
that.
only 4,100.
1,900 is gonna make this $41,000, it's a round number.
41,000.
That was where I went. Because we don't have a certainty that that pump is gone. We don't have a certainty that that needs to be moved. We know we're having issues. If we have a major pump failure, yes, we're gonna have to spend $4,000, but somebody comes in front of the selectmen, states what's happening, and the selectmen will find the money to use. To throw it into the budget that we're probably gonna need it, but we're not positive. it's-
Well, I
it's
mean, how
not
much
gonna-
have we
it's
over-
not gonna get passed.
How much have we spent over our contract over the last 3 years?
I guess I would like to see that.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
wouldn't we wanna look at
3
that?
years ago, it was like $600, cause it was just a couple of sprinkle heads. You know what I mean? So-
Right, but I mean, if we look at the 3 and average it out,
I know the last year that TLC had the contract, we had some major pump issues, and I don't remember what it was, but I remember,
that's when the fins went.
oh, okay.
You're not gonna be able to put a contingency fund into your budget. It's not gonna be allowed. 1,900 is probably stretching it.
So if it blows, they'll find money somewhere.
Yeah, just come to the
That's,
selectmen and
I guess
we'll-
that's the big question is, if the money is, if we end up with a $4,000 repair that's not budgeted, we're not gonna be at a point where we say, well, we don't have any money, so the irrigation system is down for the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I can't speak for the rest of the selectmen, but I know myself, if someone came in and said, we're having an issue with the pump down there, we're probably gonna wiggle a little bit out of the building maintenance.
We have-
We're probably gonna wiggle a little bit out of another account somewhere else, but, I mean, we're not gonna let the fields die.
With a bottom line budget, we can, even if we have to forego something somewhere else, we
Right.
have some flexibility.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it look like we're not just trying to grab money to have hold of, just in case.
And I mean, what we could probably do too is with that budget line, maybe purchase sprinkler heads and have them on hand so that it's not, you know, because we have the same sprinkler heads that we need on site, so if something breaks, it can just maybe be in the shed for each location and they can be replaced there instead of having them get an additional charge of, I've got to go get the part and then we're coming back and we're doing
I think
this.
that's a good way to do it, is
Yeah.
have something, if it's a common item that, and it is, that needs to be replaced each year, then
And we can buy it ourselves and not have to pay the 30% markup, whatever that it would cost.
Most of the time, you can buy them online, as long as you buy them by the case, you're pretty much getting their cost.
That's a good idea. So that was seconded, right?
Yes.
I hope so,
We'll have a
because we've been
discussion.
We've been talking about
I
Yes.
did, I second it, yeah.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 0, so it's passes 5-0-0.
I will be in contact with Jason, and Frank is gonna bring these numbers to the, budget committee tomorrow.
So who reaches out to A&A?
I'll call him.
I was gonna say, I mean, anybody can do it, really.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I don't
Yeah,
care.
they've contacted me several times over the last year about the bid, you know, they were very interested in bidding, and they wanted to make sure, so.
I had received a couple of emails from him asking about the bid and who bid and stuff like that and all, and I didn't answer until after the last meeting.
Okay.
And I just stated that we were going through a questioning process and we were probably gonna award a bid tonight.
Yeah, I'll call him tomorrow.
So I believe his name is Jeff, will
Yeah.
he be our contact?
Yeah, I think he's the owner and, the
Jeff
director of
Pearl?
operations he has on here, but, he was the gentleman who came to the meeting last,
Yeah, I
2
remember,
years
blonde
ago.
guy,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can ask him that, if he's gonna have somebody that's going to,
Might be thinking of the wrong guys then.
Thought he was blonde. I thought he came with a woman
Dark hair.
beard, yeah. No, I thought he was blondish.
Oh, I must be thinking of I was thinking of the two guys that came to the meeting the last time we were doing the bids.
Might have been Larry and David
Darryl.
from,
My other brother Darryl.
Darryl Joe.
so I can ask him if he has, someone that will be
Just our contact person,
a
because,
single,
yeah, I
a
mean,
single person who's gonna be overseeing
right.
our,
And that if we do have concerns, who do we contact? I mean, who is he the guy?
I mean, and I don't know if it's in the contract, but maybe we can even request a weekly email as to what's been done.
Yeah.
So if it's been aerated, we can go down and go, hasn't been
Okay.
aerated, you know? That's just simple if we're gonna try and.
And you are gonna ask him, this is a 2-year bid?
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
Well, the price is good for two.
Yeah, but yeah.
so you're looking for like a weekly, I know this isn't something that we put in the RFP.
I would do
but
it more so as when you aerate, let
something
us
out-
know.
okay.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, it's a
anything
good
out of,
idea.
anything out of,
Fertilizer's
Anything
gonna
outside of
happen,
mowing,
let us
the
know.
normal mowing.
Right, that's a
Right.
good idea, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just.
And just give him the
actually-
alias, Keith.
Yeah,
Or, I mean, so then,
Yeah,
because there's certain things he'll probably wanna give us a heads up, saying, I'm gonna be aerating, you know, you don't wanna be aerating if they're gonna have a game on it that night, right?
okay,
So,
all right.
all right, any other business?
I looked at our email stuff, I don't think so. It looked like, I mean, Kevin was here, I think you answered him, his question about the, well usage, or the water usage, but we don't know it, right? That was it?
No, I did answer it. Yeah, 7.5 gallons.
We just didn't know the data.
Yeah, we have we found the map for the irrigation layout at there at Talent when we were cleaning. I thought Kevin took it, the big original plan.
Yeah,
So he should be able to, that has a number of heads on it. So he should be able to calculate it
Yeah.
pretty close, but I think it's
but it's been
slightly-
changed.
Has it?
Yeah, when they cut out the infield of one of the far field,
Yeah, I wonder if
we
that-
took out a half a zone,
Okay.
so.
It should be pretty close to what we use at Sawmill anyway. They're pretty similar in size.
I think we use more because it runs off quicker. Sawmill, you don't have to water as much because it holds the water. There's so much sand at there, it just goes through, so it needs to, it's a little bit more. I know at the last meeting we had that, I talked about the backboards. Backboards are up
Oh, great,
at Talent.
talent looks great.
It was a little bit of a fiasco. I really wish I got a picture of John literally up in the rafters of the building, you hoisting these things up, that 300 and some odd pounds, these things are heavy. One backboard's on the back that we're gonna transport over to GMS, the other one's already been brought over there and put up at GMS, so the GMS backboard, so that's all done and secured. So, if you've been in there for a basketball practice,
really
it is
nice.
so much quieter.
It's quieter.
Because of the backboards?
Yeah.
Really?
Hey, oh, you haven't.
I've been in there, but I didn't notice
During a
any.
basketball practice,
Yeah.
and you hear bong, bong, every time that
Oh,
ball
I
goes
guess
off
I,
there. It's like somebody beating a drum. It's nice and
I love
quiet.
the paint.
How's the stage? Is it staying
Stage
relatively
looks really
clear?
good.
Yep.
I mean, we tried to open it up so that,
Everything looks great. It's clean. There's so much space up there. So much space up on the stage.
all right. Oh, I had a question for you. You get the scheduling stuff?
Yep, I just am waiting from Jason to finalize what his instructional schedule is, but it looks like it's gonna be right till 2:00.
Okay, and that's fine. Again, I talked to Colleen about this, I mentioned this to her, but, so pickleball is again, very good about accommodating everybody. But I still have a problem with having to go through them every time we want to schedule something. It's, you know what I always feel like we are asking permission from them to use our facility, or for someone else to use our facility. That's not, I know that's not actually what we're doing, but if they want to, what happened is they came to us and said, hey, if the building's not being used, we want to play more, can we use it? And we said, yes. Well, that's fine, except especially in the winter, there is no free time in there. And them being on the schedule eliminates the ability to use that calendar.
Right, well, that's why the night, when they had asked for the additional nights, I didn't put it on there, because I didn't, the scheduling once link doesn't work.
I added up their weekly usage on the calendar, and they're scheduled for almost 50 hours a week.
Yeah,
in
the
there.
thing is, they use it,
Right, but.
which is, I mean,
And if they were, I'd have a bigger problem with it if they were giving us a hard time when we asked,
right,
about moving things around. I just think that if we want to have that system where, if Mike Bosky wants to go on and reserve some time, he should be able to go into that calendar, the idea of that system, and say, I need an hour block, where is it available? Right now, it'll tell you there isn't any time available. And that's not necessarily true because pickleball's willing to move, but I think what we should be doing is do it the other way around. We should leave the time open on the calendar and let,
Have pickleball reserve it?
no. Because they'd have to reserve it, and basically,
Reserve it every day?
they
No,
just
but
want to reserve.
how
I
much
know
notice do they need for those times? Because basically, let pickleball go and look at the calendar and see if there's anything open at the last minute, rather than everybody else trying to say, hey, let's move them around.
Well, I know they do have some sort of league, right? So they're there, and you may know better on their times.
They're there all the time, all the time.
But they have,
Yeah,
I think
it's all
that
the
they
time.
have league times, they have two,
Right, that's
they
what
have
I'm
two
wondering.
groups going. They have their Litchfield group, and then they have the whole
Mm-hmm.
league. I think there's two things. But what's their actual schedule?
That's what I'm saying. Do they have-
time of when they have to be there?
Right.
It's one thing if, as a softball coach, if I need a field every Tuesday night for practice, and I have that on the schedule, that's reserved as my time. But if the field's open and I want to go use it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that should be on the schedule. It should be
Right.
me checking at it
From
and
what
saying, okay, it's
in my
open.
contact with her,
I'll go over and hope
everything
that,
that's scheduled is scheduled time for use. There's no time that they block off that's not scheduled for
no,
use.
I'm not saying
And-
that they're not using the time. I'm saying, what is their actual league play? What is,
Right, because they're technically on the schedule right now from 7 to 3. I don't think they're in the hall.
one day
I don't
they're
know
in there
if
for
they're- are they
11
really
hours.
in the
They're on
hall
the schedule
8
for
hours?
11 hours in one day. They're in there in the morning for a block, and then they're off in the middle, and somebody else is in there, and then they're back until 11 o'clock at night on the schedule in the afternoon. So,
And I honestly
Well,
don't
I'm
think.
saying-
I don't think I had them
it's
scheduled that
something
way.
like, yeah, it's pretty, I think it's.
Well, I mean, I don't think they go past 8 o'clock now.
Well, that's what I mean, so that stuff shouldn't be on the calendar. If they
Right.
only need it, like if their league schedule where they have to have it because they actually have a league play, then that should be on the calendar. But then if they say, hey, we want to have this open gym type thing where we have extra time in there because nobody else is using it, I don't think that should be on the calendar.
Right, but we started doing that, and then what was happening is people were going onto the website, seeing nothing scheduled after 7 o'clock. Oh, it's open, I'm gonna go in there. We've had several times where two groups going at the same time with the same thought. The only way that would work is if we basically gave pickleball carte blanche to say, if there's nothing on the schedule, you can take that time, but we're not gonna schedule you as much time. If somebody reserves
Well,
it,
nobody else other than a rec commission person should be going in there unannounced, right?
Well, I think what Indy was saying in the calendar, that kind of one-time request calendar you're saying.
no, I'm saying,
Oh, people just
I've
walk
gone
in.
down, like when I went down there, once it was a softball coach, once it was a basketball coach, another time it was, I don't know if it was futsal or something else. I saw that the calendar was open, so I went in there, and at one time pickleball and somebody else went in there because they saw the calendar was open, because that's what I told Jeanette to do. And so now it's, well, who gets there first, and nobody's on it.
But if neither group has reserved it, then I don't know that anybody necessarily gets priority. And if it's an issue that they can't work out, then nobody uses it. But, like, I've gone in there too, and, like, I've got a practice or something in there at, at 10 o'clock, but I say, hey, I'm gonna go over a half hour early. And I go in there and it's
Right.
open, I say, I'm gonna go over a half hour early and get a little time in there. and then somebody else is in there. Now, I'm not saying that I should have priority on that, but there really shouldn't be anybody in there if they're not on the calendar. So having calendar spots taken up with someone who wants to have open gym, I don't, outside of their actual scheduled activity, I don't think we should do that.
And I don't think this is open gym type thing. They basically have different groups. They have different age groups, different level groups. And so the way she runs it is there's beginners that go at a certain time, there's more advanced players that play at a different time, there's league. I mean, they have a schedule and a system in place.
Well, I guess this is what I'm saying. They, say 2 years ago, whatever it was, they had this time blocked off that they were scheduled all the time. They came to us and said, hey, we noticed that there's some time that's not being used in there. If nobody else is using it, are you guys okay with us just going over and playing? And we said yes. So all of that other time that they've added on, just because nobody else was using the gym, should not be on the calendar.
Right, but they had around 25 members when they first started. They have over 80 members now.
Do we know if they're truly using it 48 hours?
From what I've been told and what I
They
have
are.
seen, they are. I mean, I don't know if you've gone, when you're down there, when they're supposed to be scheduled, or.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
when, they're there all the time. Seriously, even sometimes during playgroup, we get people, oh, whoops, okay, I forgot, Tuesday. And then sometimes Bob will come in and he'll just do his stuff and then he'll leave. They won't play or anything, but they're still in there doing their thing. And when I was doing the yard sale, that Friday night, I asked her if I could use it that Friday night because she had it blocked off. And she's like, yeah, we very rarely use it at nighttime. But go ahead, nobody should be using it. And then all of a sudden she came back and said, well, I have a couple of people who want to use it, so they're going to be coming in at the same time. So I don't know if that's exactly what's
Right.
going on, is that
They have since.
we have the spot, we'll go in.
It used to be almost all retired people, which is why they were using the daytime. Now there's more people that actually work that are doing it. So
Right,
they're
younger,
trying- That's
yeah.
where they're trying to get the weekends and a couple of evenings. We sort of shuffled them off to Friday evening for the winter because we have basketball pretty much every night, even Friday up until a certain point. So those people that work during the day, their only spots are the weekend time that they do get. And the Friday night, I think it's from 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's like 6 to 10 or 6 to 11, something like that.
I think, again, they're very good. And if it was any other group that was doing it, well, I guess I don't want to set a precedent for any other group to be able to come to us and say, hey, if nobody's using the gym, can we go
Right.
use it whenever we want? And again, anytime anyone has asked for them to move, they've done it. But I don't think that
Well,
we should have to always go.
How about if I contact her and instead of just blocking it off for pickleball? Because and I think it's more of a service too, is like what we did with basketball, is I try and put whose practice it is, so that if parents are looking at it, oh crap, what time's my daughter's basketball practice tonight? They look and see, oh, it's 6 to 7.
Yeah.
So I can work with her and actually get their actual schedule and say, okay, this is the
Right.
beginners,
Right.
whatever, age group women, and put that on there. And then if there isn't a specific use for it, say, well, if you have a specific use, request it, otherwise we're not gonna schedule it. I mean, that's kind of what we did before Sawmill was there, and we were talking about, schedules for, trying to fit everything at Dara. It was, well, we need this block. No, you can't take that block. You schedule something, you let us know what your schedule is, and then we'll fill in.
Yeah.
the
I
extra.
guess, yeah, my thought was that what they were doing was like, if I was doing something similar, it'd be like, okay, I have a softball practice that I'm gonna hold inside, and I'm gonna do it from 11 to 12 o'clock, and I have that blocked on the calendar. But then I say, hey, you know what, if 12 to 2 is unused, then I'm just gonna take my softball and have them practice 3 hours. And then, if somebody wants to use it, they have to come to me and ask me if they can use it, when I wasn't necessarily blocked for that time to start with. So I just want to make sure that they're using it for scheduled activities, not just because the gym's open, let's go
Right.
use it.
Okay.
I think
I'll
if Andy
follow.
gets that information from Jeanette, then, yeah,
Yeah.
that should.
And I hate almost using
No, they're
them
very good.
as the example, because they haven't really given us any problems with it, but I think we're setting a precedent, and I don't want it to become a problem. And the gym is so heavily used in the winter, I think that's where it's more of an issue. In the summer, they can use it all they want because nobody else does, but
And that's what I was gonna say, is because come February, March, April, depending on the weather outside, you're gonna have baseball and softball wanting to get some time as well.
Oh, yeah,
And
now
if they hit
that,
those
that's always.
backboards, bad help.
So there's no crank to go up on those,
No,
huh?
you use the T-ball ball.
Yeah, but they leave those little squishy marks on the thing.
do those
No
not,
crank
they
to
don't
go
raise?
up? No rate, no.
The one by the stage raises, the other one's stationary. And you don't wanna raise it.
Heavy?
Well, it cranks and
Oh,
it takes,
I did the old one, and I was like, oh my,
yeah.
this is terrible.
Actually, we should probably look into getting a motor to put on
Yeah.
that and just crank them up.
Yeah.
I do have a quick question, and not, only because you're talking about Talent Hall. Now, what's supposed to happen with the basketballs? I went in again today, and there were basketballs all over the kitchen. Not in the racks, just everywhere.
was
I mean-
thinking
Let's see,
the
they- yeah, they
basketballs,
did address
the
that.
program, what the coaches have been told
Mm-hmm.
is that there is a rack for each size basketball.
Okay,
The coaches to go into the kitchen, not the kids. They are to get the rack out of the proper size basketball, bring it out on the floor. The basketballs get used, the basketballs get put back in the rack, and the rack gets put back in the kitchen.
okay, not happening.
Okay.
No, the balls, they weren't even on their racks. I don't know what went for what, but of course, you open the door, I bring my toys out, kids are like, balls, and they just go, and
I think
they're
it's, I
just
think
as
it's
bad
gonna reach
as.
the point, and I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'm thinking of padlock in that door and
I don't know how you would do that. One goes out, one goes in. The kitchen door?
hasp lock, although
Oh.
it'd probably be a fire hazard, wouldn't it?
There's no exit there.
Well, we have to give every, we have to
But
give
so,
every,
yeah, so if somebody's in there and somebody locks it, then,
coach, we have to give every coach access to the padlock?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a combination lock and
And-
change the combination lock.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can end up with someone locked inside. Might have to have a regular two-way doorknob on it to do that for fire code.
Well, I'll send another email out to the coach.
Yeah,
Can you
just
do me a favor?
Yeah.
If you
take a picture.
don't, just email me right away.
Okay.
Because I will email Jason Canali, because he, and I know who, too, I can look at the calendar and know who
Okay.
left. Basically, the person who will be responsible is the last basketball coach that was in there.
Okay, so whoever did Monday night, because it was Tuesday morning, and,
Okay, so Monday night,
yeah, and we try to clean it up, but they're not going in the right spot if they organize it by size, which I don't know if they do or not, but when we leave, we pick them up and put them on the racks, because I can't move my thing in and
Right.
out. They're literally all over the floor, so I just figured, because I remember last time, somebody said that they were supposed to be on the rack, they were supposed to be here, there, I wasn't sure, but they were everywhere today.
okay.
So.
I apologize, we'll take care
Oh,
of it.
no, it's not a big deal, because the kids actually like it, because they'll just run and grab the balls. So, but for the next person, or pickleball, you
Yeah.
know,
Now, our next meeting is scheduled for the 22nd,
23rd,
The Tuesday before Christmas.
23rd, that's what.
because that's when Santa's coming.
Yeah,
to
people
play
around,
group.
I'm just thinking it's Christmas week.
Yes.
I mean, if people around, are we going to have one?
I know I'll be.
I should be around.
I should be, but
I mean, I don't think we should, I think.
Okay,
'cause
that's fine.
We might have something that comes up
That's fine.
especially if we find out that this is not, that they're only committing to this price for a year, then we're gonna probably we'll probably have to do, we could probably call a meeting for next week to get that money in for the budget people, but,
Okay, we can plan on the 23rd, that's fine.
okay.
wanted to make
We'll plan
sure.
on the 23rd for the
motion
next
to
meeting.
adjourn. Second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Yep, yep.
Aye. Wins 5-0-0.
Okay.